Good morning, expats and international students, and welcome to my channel Good Morning Expat. This is Bhor, and I am here with yet another brand new video in the EU traveling series. And like many of you know, I am spending my summer holidays in August 2022 in the Baltic region, and this is the second Baltic state that I am discovering in this period, which is of Lithuania. So right now I am in the capital city of Vilnius, which is the capital and the largest city of Lithuania, and I cannot wait to show you all the major attractions which we are going to discover here over the next 2 days. So let's get this journey started. So let's start this trip with a visit to one of the most famous monuments here in Vilnius, which is the Church of St. Francis and St. Bernard, which is this monumental structure that you can see behind me. It's located in the old town of Vilnius, and it is right next to the St. Anne's Church. So when you are in this square, when you're in this area, you can explore both of these. This is a great example of Gothic architecture in Lithuania. And this is a Roman Catholic church. It's of course magnificent from the outside, but the inside is also very charming. So let's now take a look at it. Both the St. Anne's and the St. Francis and St. Bernard churches are right next to each other. So this is the St. Francis and St. Bernard church, which is the slightly larger one. And then right next to it is the St. Anne's church. But the inside of St. Anne's is a bit smaller, so it's a bit less attractive, for example, on the inside. Whereas the inside, the interiors of the St. Francis and St. Bernard Church are quite magnificent, so it's worth taking a look at from the inside. And now we're going to continue our walk towards the old town, which is this cobblestone lined square, and it's a medieval old town, so quite charming, and that's what we're going to explore next. So the best part about being in Europe is that you can find these free water fountains all over the city. And they are safe in most cities, especially here in the Baltics. You can get your water bottle filled, or you can also drink straight from the tap like this. So the water is at the perfect temperature. Highly recommended to stay hydrated in this hot weather. Today the weather here is not super hot. It's like 31 degrees max and a minimum of 18, but it's quite hot compared to the Baltic standards. So there is currently a heat wave going on, in fact, over here. So fresh water is very, very important, and that is why I took advantage of getting my water bottle refilled before I move to the old town. But on the way, we are also going to explore the Orthodox set of churches, which are located on the left-hand side of the St. Francis and St. Bernard Church. So this church that you can see behind me is the Orthodox Church of the Eastern Orthodox Christians. And this is what we are going to see now from the inside. So this white building that you can see behind me is the Church Heritage Museum, which is another structure to visit while you're visiting the St. Francis and the St. Bernard churches. So Vilnius has a bohemian vibe, and you can find these cobblestone streets all over the old town of the city. A very charming vibe. It has the old world charm, like I always say, which many European towns like these have. And it's very cooling. It's a very relaxing experience to walk in these narrow alleys, because it's very hot right now in Vilnius. So these cooling walks are giving some relaxation. And now, to work up my appetite before lunch, I'm going to do a little hike to visit another monument which we are going to discover next. It's at a slightly elevated level, so it's on this hilltop, and the best way to get there is to do the hike. In fact, I saw earlier the stop of the hop-on, hop-off bus as well. So that's another medium that you can take if you want to go uphill to visit this monument. But then I have chosen to hike because it's quite hot today in Vilnius, but not as much as I expected. So like I said, to burn some calories before lunchtime, the hike is a good idea. So that's what I'm going to do. So after this short hike, I have reached the Missionary Gardens, which is this lush green space uphill. And thanks to its elevated level, what you can see from here are these spectacular views of the skyline of Vilnius. So if you can see the scene behind me, it's amazing because it gives you the perfect example of the old mixing with the new. So you have the view of the business district, which is full of skyscrapers and high rises, but then the skyline punctuated with historical monuments, cathedrals and churches. So it's like a perfect epitome of what Vilnius is now. So I started this trip today from the square where we saw the St. Francis and the St. Bernard church, and to get to that square from our hotel, which was the Holiday Inn, the boat ride costed like €3, so extremely cheap. And what we noticed in both these countries, all over the Baltics, I can say, is that the taxi rides with app-based taxis are super cheap, and sometimes even cheaper than public transport if you are a group of people. And the Bolt, like I said, costed €3 this morning, so it was easy peasy. Bolt is a company which is very popular over here in the Baltics, even as much as Uber. So the Uber is of course available, but then Bolt seems to be more frequently used. So you can definitely check it out. And like I said, if you are a single person, perhaps no, but perhaps public transport might be more cheap. But then when it comes to a group of people, if you're more than 2 or 3, then definitely. If it's a short distance ride, then the app-based taxi prices will be very cheap, and they are absolutely cheaper than what we pay in Milan and Paris. So definitely cheaper than Western or the Scandinavian part of Europe. So getting around here is quite easy in that sense, so you don't often have to rely completely on public transport only. So the best way to discover a country's culture is through its food. And I have come today to one very famous local Lithuanian cuisine restaurant, which is called the Etno Dvaras, if I get the pronunciation right. And this is quite famous as they have the cuisines coming from many different regions of Lithuania, including the famous cold beetroot soup and many other delicacies based on potatoes, carrots, fermented milk-based products like curds or sour cream. And these are the staple ingredients used in Lithuanian cuisine. So today we are going to savor some of their dishes, and the menu was very vast. There were many veggie options, so I'm quite happy. And then the best highlight here is of course the ambience. So this is designed as if it's a house which dates back centuries. So the ambience is really cozy, gives a very historic feel. I have ordered as my beverage, of course, the carrot juice, but they had many traditional ingredients as well. One peculiarity of Lithuanian cuisine is the use of beetroot, and I know that it is a vegetable which either people love or they hate. so it doesn't have a very nice reputation in the world of vegetables, I understand. But the way they use it in this part of the world, in the Baltics, in Russia, in all the ex-USSR, ex-Soviet countries, is really impressive. So there are so many different delicacies which make use of beetroot, and it is also used as a side, like in the pickled form, for meat dishes, potato dishes, and other delicacies. So when you are here, I recommend you to try the way they use to try things made with beetroot for sure, because it's a staple ingredient, like I said, in Lithuanian cuisine, but all the cuisines of the different Baltic states. So this is the Gminas Castle, which is one of the most attractive and one of the most noticeable locations that you will notice in the skyline of Vilnius. And to get here, there are two ways. So from the garden below, you can either do a little hike like what I did. The other way is to get the funicular if you don't like hiking, and it costs €1 per way, so €2 in total. And this funicular that we just saw will bring you until this platform, until this level, and then to access the castle tower, of course, you have to climb the stairs. The entry ticket inside costs €6. So now we'll get to the other side. Let's go to the castle by the ticket, and we'll climb all the way all the way up to this tower, from where I'm sure we're going to get some super cool views of the city of Vilnius. So this is the top floor of the castle tower at the Gminas Castle, and this is how it feels over here. So of course this is the best location if you want to get some panoramic views from an elevated level of the city of Vilnius. Let's enjoy some of the scenic shots from the top. And this iconic monument that you can see behind me, this beautiful white structure, is the main Roman Catholic Cathedral of Vilnius, which is where the patron saint of Vilnius, Saint Casimir, rests. And this is the main cathedral, main religious monument for the Roman Catholics here in Vilnius. And right next to it, there is also the bell tower, which also has an exhibition inside that you can visit, recounting the history of this monument, which dates back to the 13th century. And of course, it goes without saying that from the top you can get some spectacular views of the old town of Vilnius. Also, this place is very close to the defensive castle of Vilnius, which is the monument that you can see at the hilltop, which is what we explored yesterday. And another beautiful thing that you can spot in this Cathedral Square is also this red colored clock. It's a very innovative monument, according to me. It's basically a clock. And after this visit, if you continue walking up this road from the Cathedral Square, you will already enter the old town. In fact, this is already the old town of Vilnius, which is a medieval location which is worth visiting when you are here on a day trip in Vilnius, definitely. So day before yesterday, I arrived in Vilnius using the bus service that operates from Riga and many other Baltic towns to Vilnius. From Riga it took like 4 hours, and it was a very comfortable ride because we took the Lux bus service, which is a luxury coach. Of course, you can also take the regular ones, which are Eco Lines and other services, which are the basic ones. The ride was 4 hours. So very quick and convenient. I'm not sure if there is good flight connectivity between Riga and Vilnius, but clearly it wouldn't save a lot of time. It wouldn't save you a lot of time, and then the price of the bus ride was between 20 to 30 euros. So I'm confident that the flight tickets would be way more expensive than that. And of course, you can view the spectacular views that you can get from the buses, which is not something that can be had from the plane. So a highly recommended way to travel between these two cities. So how many days one should spend in Vilnius? Well, as many as you want. That's the simple answer. But if you are here on a day trip, yes, the old town area is easy to explore with a day trip as well. And if you're here for a one-day trip, you can also go up to the castle by foot, so doing a hike, or even take the funicular, for example, because that takes a little bit of time to go uphill, explore the entire castle, and then come back. So that's a slightly time-consuming activity. And then, of course, the rest of your time would be to visit all the different cathedrals and historic monuments that are there in the old area, the old town of Vilnius. If you are here, for example, on a 2-day trip, then you can also visit the nearby castle, which is a very beautiful place. It's about 30 minutes by taxi, so 30 minutes by car, and with the train about an hour. So that's an activity that you might do if you are here for a couple of days. If not, then the old town and the central part of Vilnius is worth exploring if you're here just for a day. The castle that I'm talking about is the one that you can see possibly behind me. This one. So before getting on to the bus back to Riga, I am now headed to Narvesen, which, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the biggest supermarket chains here in Vilnius. It's like I said, the 7-Eleven of the Baltics. And right next to it, there is also a very nice cafe called Caffeine, which is the equivalent of the espresso house that you find in the Scandinavian countries. So it is there in every nook and corner of the city where you can grab a bite. They have many hot and cold dishes, cakes, all types of coffees and everything. So it's your go-to cafe when you're here. And Narvesen, why Narvesen? Because we need to buy some bananas and some snacks to eat on the way on the bus, because the bus is really during lunchtime, so we wouldn't have the time to sit down somewhere for a sit-down lunch experience. But we're going to get some grab-and-go style stuff to eat on the bus. So the scenic view that you can see behind me is of the river Neris, and Vilnius is located at the banks of this very river, which originates in northern Belarus. In fact, Lithuania is bordering Belarus, and originating from Belarus, it flows all the way through central Lithuania and of course across Vilnius. The river serves as a divide between the old and the new centers of Vilnius. So with this spectacular view, I'm going to close this 2-day trip in Vilnius, and now I'm headed back to Riga. So I'm going to go to the bus station, from where I'm going to take the bus ride back using the same service, the Lux bus, for this 4-hour journey back into Riga. So if you liked watching this video, do give it a thumbs up, do like it, share it, love it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Good Morning Expat. And look what I found. Gondola.lt. So Lithuania's very own gondola rides. So this is another experience that you can have if you want a relaxing boat ride on the Neris River.